Story 1. A few years ago, I changed my wife's birthday on Facebook to April 1st. She spent all day confused about why she was receiving happy birthday messages. Story 2. One year, I painted my husband's soap bar with clear nail polish, let it dry, and put it back in the shower. It would not lather no matter how hard he tried. Story 3. My dad once printed out a collection of pictures of David Beckham and stuck them in unusual places around the house for everyone to discover. We were finding them and laughing about it for months later. Story 4. I rearranged my brother's drawers once. He was not amused, and neither was Mom. I still think it was funny and completely harmless. Story 5. My boyfriend is a daily PC gamer, so I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+Alt+down arrow to flip his screens upside down. Edit. It turns out I may be outdated, and this keyboard shortcut may not work anymore. Instead, I can right-click, go to Display Settings, scroll to Orientation, change it to Landscape, Flipped, and apply the changes. Story 6. My husband has this silly thing where he loves pretending it snowed, and he gets me all excited to look out the window because I love snow. We've had some random weather lately, so I think I might be able to pull off pretending it snowed. I'm pretty sure he has no idea it's April 1st tomorrow either. Story 7. Here is what I am doing for my husband tomorrow. Our favorite pizza place cuts their pizzas into strips. We have been going there weekly for 24 years. I arranged with the owner that tomorrow they will cut our pizza into traditional triangle slices. He will be so surprised. I came up with this prank last year and I have been waiting to use it for months. I am so excited. Story 8. My son is 5, and we have been planning a silly prank tomorrow on my wife. He is going to pretend he finds a big bug in the house. We will put a raisin in a napkin, and he will excitedly run up and say, "Look at the bug I found, Mommy." And before she has a chance to see, he will eat it in front of her. We have been practicing the act all week. He is so excited. I am tempted to tell my wife just to ensure she gives him a good reaction. Story 9. Buy a leek from the shop and put it under the sink. Then tell your significant other that you think there is a leak under the sink and ask them to look for it. Story 10. Put Jell-O in a cup. Place a straw in the cup while the Jell-O solidifies. It looks like a refreshing fruit beverage. Give it to someone. They try to drink it, but they can't because it's Jell-O. Pranked. Give them a spoon. Story 11. My mom always changes the clock times when my dad takes a nap to make him think he slept for about 8 hours. It doesn't work now that we all have smartphones. Thank you, everyone, for all the upvotes. I'm a new user, so this really made my week. Happy April Fool's Day. Story 12. Not a significant occurrence, but I remember coming back from school when my sister mentioned there were brownies in the fridge. I opened it, and there were a few brown letteries. She had cut up paper into the shape of an E and colored them brown. That little prankster. I didn't realize people consider this prank something that makes others sad. I was the one who got pranked, but I did not feel sad at all. I suppose that's just how it is with my family. Also, as some have suggested, prepare actual brownies to offset the disappointment if you plan on carrying out the prank. Story 13. When we were children, my sisters and I took all of my dad's underwear and socks and sewed them together end to end, so that when you pulled one out, they all came out. They were loosely sewn together with 2 long stitches each, making it easy to cut them apart. Story 14. Change the settings on your device to speak in a different accent. A less enjoyable experience my wife had with me involved placing a thumbtack on the snooze button. Story 15. Fake tattoo. I was going to pull this prank on my husband by putting it on his head since he's bald, and involve my in-laws. One year, my mom got me good by covering half her eyebrow with makeup, making me think she actually shaved it off. I switched my best friend's hairspray with glitter hairspray. She loved glitter, so it was all in good fun. Story 16. I made fake dog poop out of Tootsie Rolls that matched the size and consistency of what our Yorkie produces. Then I left them on the floor where my wife would see them. After she woke up and made the discovery, I heard her yell, cursing at the dog. "I'll get it," I replied, and promptly picked them up, popped them in my mouth and chewed them. The look on her face was priceless. Story 17. If you work from home and know any of your coworkers, take a picture of whatever is behind you when working so that your coworkers can use it as a background in video meetings. Story 18. Given the timing, you could hide a few dozen Easter eggs around your home. I did that one Easter with 144 eggs in a one-bedroom apartment. It's been 2 or 3 years, and there are still a few unaccounted for. You could also try rubber ducks or tiny plastic figurines or anything else you can find. Story 19. I switched the bags into different boxes of cereal. I set the alarm to a different sound. I replaced family pictures with pictures of Danny DeVito. Story 20. I was the head of information technology at the time. I sent a memo to all staff stating that the phone lines were dirty and that we would clean them out with compressed air. They were instructed to request a phone bag or place the phone in the trash can. At the end of the day, I walked around the office and found 6 phones in trash cans, and 3 staff members asked our receptionist for a phone bag. Story 21. I hid small bottles of liquor around the house in addition to the children's Easter eggs. I imagine he will still be finding them tomorrow. Story 22. A friend played a prank on his dad. He woke up super early, moved his dad's car out of the driveway and down the street. His dad came out to go to work and panicked, thinking the car was stolen. April Fool's, Dad. He told me about it 2 weeks later when his grounding ended. Story 23. There's a mixed cereal that my partner loves for its chocolate flakes, but hates the white chocolate flakes. He accidentally bought the mix instead of the plain chocolate, but didn't want to waste it. I stayed up late and picked out all but 3 of the chocolate pieces, so he ended up with a mountain of the white ones. When I woke up, he showed me the bowl and was upset about his bad luck in getting such a poor mix. I enjoyed watching him react, and then I revealed the container of pure chocolate flakes I had set aside for him. Story 24. I rearrange items in my partner's game room. I make sure nothing breaks or gets damaged, just his figurines and keyboard, just enough to make him wonder what's going on. Story 25. Leave oranges around the house while they are sleeping. Throughout the day, give them oranges. When they are talking, say, "Hold this for a moment," and hand them an orange. Confuse, don't abuse. Story 26. Buy a toilet brush identical to the one you already have. Then place the new one in the dishwasher. When she notices and may be a bit upset, remind her that you have been washing it like that for months or years without her complaining. Story 27. Tip over a bottle of nail polish onto wax paper. Make it look like it was knocked over and spilled. Let it dry and trim off the excess wax paper. Now you have the perfect prank to leave on your significant other's computer desk, bedside table, or tablet. Story 28. One April Fool's Day, I carved a chunk of cheese into the shape of a bar of soap and swapped it out before my husband got in the shower. Story 29. We used to have a monitor connected to the home surveillance system that displayed her car in the driveway. One day, I changed the time on the monitor to match a period when she took the car to work. "Babe, check the screen. I think your car has been stolen from the driveway," I said, never having seen her run out of the house so quickly while I sat there giggling like a teenager. Story 30. This year I'm doing pun-based jokes. I got a bunch of beats. One will have a thermometer in it. Sick beat. Several will be around a bush. Beat around the bush. 2 have little boxing gloves. Beat boxing. Painted letters B, C, and D on the beats. Skip a beat. A turnip with a name tag that says, "The Beat." Turnip, turn up, the beat. A beat taped to the ceiling, upbeat. Story 31. We informed a coworker about vandalism in the parking lot and mentioned that his tires appeared to be slashed. When he reached his car, we had taped photos of slash to his tires. Story 32. I ordered several prank books with awkward titles. I'm placing them in a box labeled with my neighbor's address. I will bring them inside as if they were mistakenly delivered to my house and have instructed my son to open the box while it's unattended on the counter. My husband will have the difficult task of taking the open box of books to our neighbors, which include titles like Anal Bleaching for Beginners. I coordinated with the neighbors and instructed them to make my husband uncomfortable about opening their package. I will give him about 5 minutes there before finally letting him realize he's been pranked. Story 33. I have a great story. Every time my significant other came over, he would always take a sip from my water bottle, which changed color and had a straw without fail. Every single time, he just grabbed the water from my bedside table and drank it without even asking how long it had been there. So, one year for April Fool's Day, I placed a fresh cup of ice water by my bedside table, but taped the bottom of the straw so nothing came out. He walked into my room and tried to drink, but nothing came out. He was so confused and tried again. I started laughing, and he was just like, "What the heck?" I said, "April Fools," and explained the prank. He thought it was so funny and said he was extra excited that day to drink because when he grabbed the cup, it was ice cold. Story 34. I am so excited to fill my boyfriend's office with balloons. I have a pump for an air mattress that I am going to use to inflate them. Story 35. I get my family nice things, and then I say, "Oh man, you all have to see the mess the cats made downstairs. Can you help me clean it? It's pretty bad." Then there's no mess, just gifts. Story 36. For about 5 years, I have gone into a panic, fearing there is a leak in the house, whether from the toilet, a sink, or the ceiling, something different each year. When I reach the point of freaking out, there is a leak, the vegetable, sitting there. It gets him every time. Story 37. When I was in high school, a guy told me his German grandmother made a special, original version of what looked like Oreo cookies. When I tried them, the center was white toothpaste instead of frosting. Not wanting to offend his German roots, I tried to act like they weren't too bad until he burst out laughing and admitted the truth. I felt so naive but otherwise unharmed. Story 38. Get a singing card and set up a door that will open. When the door opens, it plays music. Story 39. Buy some googly eyes from the dollar store and stick them on eggs and vegetables. This is harmless and cute. Story 40. My husband changed my autocorrect on my phone to make you swap to y'all. He's lucky he picked a forgivable prank. Story 41. My friend's girlfriend changed their Alexa speaker response when he says, "Alexa, lights on," from turning the lights on to "do it yourself." He thought it was hilarious and then hit her with the perfectly made snowball he had hidden in the back of the freezer for 4 months. He won. Story 42. Rearrange the utensils in the drawer. No one really remembers where the forks and spoons belong. They just reach for them automatically and get confused when they think they are grabbing a spoon but end up with a fork or butter knife. Story 43. A few years ago, my partner tempered some chocolate and made me a mixed bag of flavors to enjoy, including macadamias and crushed hazelnut. Then I came across the one chocolate-covered cherry tomato. It was absolutely disgusting and quite a shock. Story 44. A couple of years ago, my wife and oldest son gave me an Oreo when I got home from work. I thought it was a little odd, and when I bit into it and discovered the cream had been replaced with toothpaste, I realized why. Story 45. Not a prank, but my water broke, and I went into labor on April Fool's Day. Upon messaging my friends, no one believed me until I had the baby in the early hours of the second. I will now have a 2-year-old in 2 days. Story 46. Tell them you are planning a huge prank, but do not actually do anything. It can be fun to watch someone waiting for a prank that never comes. Story 47. My boyfriend and I live together. He always sets out his work outfit the night before. I switched it out with the most revealing outfit I could put together. I can't wait to see how he reacts tomorrow. Story 48. This happened many years ago, but we still laugh about it. Not my husband, but my teenage son. I turned on the kitchen faucet, and the sprayer sprayed me in the face. There was an elastic band that held the sprayer on. Thinking it was my husband, I called him at work and yelled at him. After he stopped laughing, he promised it wasn't him. That left only one person, my son. He thought it was very funny. Story 49. A few years ago, I placed Pop Rocks under the toilet seat after he went to bed. His morning surprise woke him up better than coffee. He loved it, and I loved it. Definitely a successful prank. Story 50. Print pictures of Slash and tape them to his tires. Tell him there has been vandalism in the neighborhood and he needs to check if his tires have been slashed. It works best if he knows who Slash is. Story 51. Last year, I did the hide a rubber duck activity. For a couple of weeks, I hid 2 rubber ducks in our apartment. Then, in weeks 3 and 4, I hid 4 ducks. In weeks 5 and 6, I hid 8 ducks. I reached a total of 12 ducks before my husband exclaimed, "How many ducks are there?" Story 52. The best prank I ever saw growing up was my mom sewing up the bottom of one leg of my dad's suit trousers. Everything you could imagine and hope for in terms of slapstick humor happened, and it was glorious. Story 53. My best April Fool's prank was sitting in my dorm lobby eating from a mayonnaise jar with a spoon. When people asked what I was doing, I'd ask, "Do you want any?" When they said no, I would respond, "Oh, you don't like vanilla pudding? That's unfortunate." They are identical in color and consistency, so you really couldn't tell the difference. It helped that I was using a jar from an egg-free mayonnaise, so nobody could refute my claim that it looked like that. Nobody gets hurt, and you get a tasty treat. Have fun. Story 54. Not to my significant other, but to my sister. My mom had just made brownies, and I smushed some into what looked like little dog poop and sprinkled powdered sugar on it. Then I went and stuck it in the grass in the backyard. We went out later, and I said, "Hey sis, is this dog poop? We don't even have a dog." She picked it up, examined it, and then popped it in her mouth. She was horrified, and I could not stop laughing. Story 55. A leak in the kitchen or bathroom, water running from the laundry room, swapping the locations of the parked cars, switching the locations of the coffee cups and wine glasses, replacing the usual breakfast cereal with toys, tape on the underside of the computer mouse, extreme foaming shampoo. I could keep going. Story 56. This year, I have zip-tied a harmonica to her car. She's already mentioned that the car is making a strange noise. Story 57. Drop a bag of frozen peas on the floor and yell that you spilled peas everywhere. Also, serve nothing but potatoes for dinner. Shape the meat, sides, and desserts out of mashed potatoes and pretend you don't notice. Then you will have potatoes. Story 58. I unscrewed the shower head as a teenager one year and put beef bouillon cubes inside. I laughed when my sister took a shower in beef broth that I could smell from outside the bathroom door. It's easy cleanup, seeing as they were prepared to shower anyway. Story 59. I asked my wife if she wanted a cup of tea, and she always said yes. When I returned a few minutes later with an empty mug in hand, I walked as if it were full to the brim with tea. Just as I carefully handed it over, my hand slipped, and I dropped the empty mug into her lap. I watched her leap off the couch, thinking she had been scalded with hot tea. Story 60. Hiding small plastic ducks around the house for him to find. I met someone who actually did this at her workplace with 1,000 small plastic ducks, and even a year later they are still finding them. Surprisingly, it is easy to get tiny plastic ducks for a good price. Story 61. A prank on my husband only works on non-technical people. His pastime is watching videos on our TV. Today, I set it to play at double speed, and while he was confused, asking me why the reporter was talking so fast, I feigned innocence and kept saying it sounded normal to me. Story 62. I 3D printed about 150 figures and scattered them around our apartment when my wife and I were dating. She found a few each week for the next year and would throw them at me. Story 63. There are disco light bulbs. One year, my husband put them in my closet, so when I turned them on, it felt like a little dance party. It made me laugh. We used them last year for the hallway light and let our son find them. His reaction was the best. Story 64. I changed our shower curtain to one that has a picture of Jeff Goldblum in a turtleneck sweater with a gorilla. I am now patiently waiting for him to go to the bathroom, even though it is the 31st. Story 65. I tend to run away and hide when we go out, like down shopping aisles or behind trees. Half the time, I'm probably still visible, but sometimes I manage to catch her by surprise when she turns around and I'm not there. Story 66. This takes a lot of preparation and some cooking or baking skills, and typically leads to glorious confusion. Get a large boneless chunk of ham or a few inexpensive ham steaks. Then, obtain some instant mashed potatoes and brown food coloring. Make sure you have a piping bag, similar to those used for icing decorations on cakes. Mix the mashed potatoes to a thick, frosting-like consistency. Add just enough brown food dye to make it resemble chocolate frosting. Cook the ham, then either carve it into a cake-sized round or stack the ham steaks with layers of mashed potatoes between each one. Smooth more mashed potatoes over your ham creation and top with decorative piped mashed potato dollops around the rim. Present it as if it were a normal cake. Story 67. I glued googly eyes onto every item in our kitchen one year. It was harmless, and now I can tell what has been kept since 2016. Story 68. Get a bowl of Skittles mixed with M&Ms. Most people grab a handful, assuming it's one or the other. Let the fruity chocolate mix begin. Story 69. Turn the computer screen orientation upside down. It is in the display settings if you are using Windows. I am not sure about Mac. Story 70. I changed my significant other's birthday on Facebook to be April Fool's Day. She received a random wall post after midnight from an acquaintance, and she thought, "What an idiot." Then the messages started rolling in, and she said, "I hate you." Friends would be confused, asking, "I thought your birthday was in June." The best reaction was from a friend who called in a panic, worried that she had forgotten her birthday. Another time, I rearranged all the kitchen cabinets and drawers after she went to bed. Story 71. My child got me today. They told me that the cat had vomited on my bed. So when I went in to clean it, they yelled, "April Fools," and giggled, "Little rascal." Story 72. Tape a piece of paper to the underside of the mouse that reads, "April Fool." The mouse will not work. It's a short prank with no repercussions. Story 73. My friend's boyfriend asked about his favorite candy when they moved in together. He proceeded to hide Reese's Pieces all over the house. 6 months later, my friend is still finding them and loving it each time. It's not a prank, but it's a lot of fun. Story 74. Every day, I run on an elliptical machine in my dining room. My wife comes down, says hello, and goes into the shower. Today, I was naked. Story 75. When I was younger, I used to replace the apple in my dad's lunch with a fake one. This was in the mid to late 2000s. So having fake fruit as decoration in the home was quite common. The best part was he always acted so surprised when I did it each year. Story 76. The classics are the best. What is that on your shirt? April Fools. Your shoes are untied. April Fools. What happened to you? Your eye is black. When they look April Fools. Story 77. I placed water bottles on the stairs when my husband went to the store or was at work. I called him just before he got home and said water was running down the stairs. Story 78. My friend bought 200 tiny frogs and hid them throughout her mother's house. It's been 6 months, and she still hasn't found them all. Story 79. My sister and I once built a huge cup tower in front of my mom's door. The prank was for her to walk out into the hallway and knock over the tower. Although it fell over and the prank was somewhat ruined, we found it very funny. It may have been silly, but we believed we had pulled off a great prank. Story 80. My favorite simple trick is to look at the ceiling, point it out, and say, someone wrote gullible on the ceiling. Story 81. Put a bottle on the counter. Then hide under the counter. When they put the first bottle away, place a new bottle that looks exactly the same. Your significant other will think they are in the Twilight Zone. Story 82. My childhood friend once gave me a piece of gum, the flat kind in foil, on April Fool's Day. When I opened the wrapper, it was toothpaste. Story 83. My child once smeared petroleum jelly on the toilet seat before leaving for school. It was not a pleasant sensation to sit on first thing in the morning, but I found it hilarious. Story 84. Hoping that changing the desktop icons and names is harmless. For example, Chrome is called AOL and Edge is called Netscape. Story 85. My wife sent me a photo of her hand with a fresh tattoo. It was my name, but it was misspelled. A closer look would have revealed the Photoshop pixelation. Instead, we spent 20 minutes discussing whether we could add the missing letter or if she should consider laser removal. Story 86. I love the video of the man who swaps his girlfriend's bar of soap with a cut-up potato. His laugh is so wholesome, and no one gets sad or hurt. Story 87. My college roommate loved Nike. Everything he had was Nike, clothes, gym bag, shoes, etc. I put masking tape over every Nike swoosh and used a marker to draw the Adidas logo on every masking tape label. I placed it on about 20 items. Story 88. Change the ringtone on their phone to something really cringy, or record something bizarre. Turn the volume up too. Also, set an alarm for an odd time with a loud, strange sound. Story 89. My husband prefers the toilet paper and paper towel rolls to face a certain way. The flap closer to the user, not the wall. One year, I switched them all. It was something so small, but it was still funny. Story 90. My husband's birthday is on April 1st. He's getting relighting candles on his birthday cake this year. A few years ago, I sent him a picture of a positive pregnancy test on April 1st, but he was actually disappointed when he found out it was a prank. Story 91. I brought a cup of coffee to bed this morning. I took a couple of sips before he discovered it was tea. Story 92. I replaced all the eggs in the fridge with fake wooden eggs. He loves eggs, and he is staying up late tonight. The late-night snack is inevitable. Now, to lie in wait. Story 93. Take a photo of their phone when they leave it lying around somewhere. When they leave the house, send them the photo and say, "You left your phone here." Story 94. My housemate and I used to prank each other by deep cleaning something in our house and then acting like we hadn't noticed it had been cleaned. For example, I would clean the oven while she was at work, and when she thanked me, I would say it must have been the fairies. We would get a giggle out of it, but no one felt anything but loved. Story 95. We are English speakers. My son once changed all of the program stations in his grandma's car to only Spanish-speaking stations. She kept pressing the normal buttons, but they were all set to non-English languages. She was filled with laughter. We all were. What a clever boy. Story 96. Here are a few pranks that happened to me, and yes, I fell for all of them. My family put hot sauce in my coffee. Once they got me, they handed me a glass of water, but the water was actually vinegar. I also fell for mayonnaise in my body wash. I got them back by filling an empty container of orange juice with macaroni and cheese powder and water. Shake it really well and it looks totally normal. Story 97. Not my significant other, but I work at a coffee shop. When my customers ask how my day is going, I look at them and say, "I'm great. I don't work today, so that's really nice." Story 98. A series of delightful surprises. Let's grab a quick bite to eat at their favorite restaurant, then visit the theater to see a play. Story 99. Friend, not a significant other, but I once last-minute coordinated with our mutual friends to spam him a Shrek copy pasta all at the exact same time. On Facebook, Messenger, phone, email, Discord, Snapchat, Venmo, etc. His phone was unusable for an hour due to a backlog of message notifications. I also sent him a letter for extra confusion, but unfortunately, I didn't put enough stamps, so it was returned. Another thing I've done a few times to people is take all their clothes hangers and put them in the most absurd places around the house that I could think of, except for the closet, of course. Story 100. My favorite prank I ever played on my husband was telling him someone slashed his car tires. He ran outside, all freaked out, only to find a picture of Slash from Guns N' Roses that I taped to his tire. Story 101. One year, my aunt placed a picture of Saddam Hussein over his photo on his license. I do not think he realized it until he had to renew it months later. Story 102. In high school, we would rub our pencils along the edges of quarters and then challenge our friends to see if they could roll the quarter from their forehead down their nose to their chin without dropping it. They completed the challenge successfully and then walked around with a line drawn down the center of their face. Story 103. I just pulled mine off. For my first year of pranking, I drew mustaches on tape, cut them out, and taped them on each of my family members while they were sleeping. I am the mustache ninja. Story 104. If anyone leaves their work computer unlocked, remind them of the importance of cybersecurity and locking their PC by installing a Chrome extension that changes all images in Chrome to random images of Nicolas Cage. It drives people nuts, but they usually laugh about it. Story 105. My sister would pull the same prank on my mom every year. The night before, she would use a rubber band to secure the sink spray head so that the back piece is pressed in, ensuring the head is facing toward you. The first person who turns on the sink gets sprayed with water. Story 106. Some years ago, April Fool's Day fell on a Sunday. At the time, my wife and I were living together but not yet married. She had a job as a waitress while attending college. She had that Sunday off, and as young people often do on Saturday, we stayed up late partying. Many people in food service prefer not to deal with the after-church crowd, so there are often many last-minute call-offs on Sunday, leading managers to look for help. Knowing this, when I woke up, I made the phone ring, answered it, and told her that it was her work calling for assistance. She had a look of disbelief on her face. After she took the phone, I just burst out laughing. Story 107. Every year, I find a way to convince my significant other that his phone number has been used in an advertisement to sell baby goats. I even get my friends involved. We all text him asking about the goats for sale. Sadly, I think last year was the final year because I'm out of ideas to trick him. Story 108. I let my microwave get into a bit of a state, and my partner had heard of a trick to loosen the dirt to make cleaning easier. It involved microwaving lemon juice in a bowl. One morning, I placed a bowl of lemon juice in the microwave and set it for 5 minutes, then forgot about it. About 10 minutes later, I heard a scream come from the kitchen. It worked. The inside of the microwave is spotless. Of course, what had really happened was that I got up an hour early and cleaned the microwave. The look of shock, surprise, and awe on her face was a sight to behold. Story 109. I told my wife that my knee had seized up and I couldn't bend it, and I asked if she could help me put my shoes on. She, of course, did. And when they were on, I jumped up dancing and singing, "April Fools." She called me a fool. Story 110. I placed the wireless mouse under the kitchen table and told my son that I thought I saw a mouse in the kitchen. He had a good laugh. Thank you for reminding us that April Fool's pranks should be enjoyable for everyone involved. Story 111. I want to call someone and say, "Is Dave there?" After 3 calls of asking, I will ring and say, "Hey, this is Dave. Did someone call me?" Story 112. I just told my dad there was a leak under the sink. He inspected for about 5 minutes looking for damp spots before he even noticed the vegetable right in front of him. Story 113. I sent my ex some roses before she was my ex. On this special day, from your secret lover. I played it straight. I answered the door while she was there, turned to look at her when I read the card, and gave her the old Spock eyebrow. Seeing her scramble for an explanation made it difficult not to break into a grin, but I managed to hold it back. I hadn't considered the fact that she was actually cheating until I walked into the bathroom at noon to do the April Fool's reveal, only to hear her berating her girlfriend for being stupid for sending things to the house. They got married in 2019, and I was not invited. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.